Hello.
Hey, Rocky.
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for joining us. We'll get started here with quarterback Rocky Lombardi as Michigan State gets ready to take on Michigan this Saturday, October 31st at noon in Ann Arbor. Game will be televised on Fox. The questions going in the chat for Rocky, and we'll start with Stephen Brooks from 24/7 Sports. Stephen?
Hey, Rocky, how you doing, man? Could you just sort of compare and contrast the prep this week versus last week, whereas obviously it was a new staff versus Michigan's had the same head coach, same D coordinator for multiple years now?
Yeah, it's a little different just because I at least kind of have an idea of what they're going to do just because I've studied them for 3 years. Like you said, they've had the same staff. So I guess you come in with a little bit of a head start, knowing kind of what their schematics are going to be and knowing what the looks are going to be. But, it's really no different than last week. You show up, you practice, you go through your scripts, your plays. So, yeah, I mean, there are some differences, but overall it's pretty similar.
Next question is from Justin Rose at WXYZ.
Hey, Rocky. Obviously, everybody in the state knows how big of a game this is. Just wondering, how much do you guys put extra prep into the Michigan game, whether it be, I know it's a new staff, but how much extra time do you guys focus on this game?
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge game for us. Everybody knows that's a huge game for our program. But ultimately, we try to prepare as well as we can for every game. It's not like we don't prepare to the best of our abilities every week, week in, week out. But I'm definitely not downplaying the importance of this game for us and our program. This is a big deal for us, and we're going to go out and give it our best shot.
Just to follow up on that, how much have you seen Coach Tucker kind of embrace this rivalry? Has he already made it Mark obviously made it a big point of emphasis. Has Mel come in and done anything similar to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Coach Tucker has been here before. He understands the importance of this rivalry. He understands the feelings we have towards each other, Michigan and Michigan State, I mean. So he's no stranger to this rivalry. He understands the importance of this game, and he let us know that he understands that because obviously all the players that have played in this game feel the rivalry. We understand what's going on.
Thanks.
Next question is from Matt Charbonneau with the Detroit News.
Hey, Rocky, I'm going to go back to last week a little bit now that you've watched the film some. Would you chalk up a lot of this to more mental errors and still kind of trying to have everybody on the same page when you see the way the offense moved the ball? I mean, I feel like there's a lot of positives underneath there, but when you get past some of the mistakes and the turnovers, do you think it was mostly mental in watching that back?
I think it was a little bit mental. We definitely had some mental errors, everybody did, but I think ultimately it just comes down to the turnovers. You talked about it a little bit, but we had a lot of good production in that game offensively. Moved the ball a lot. I think we only punted twice. That's a pretty important stat. It shows that we're moving the ball, and I know we had a couple fourth down tries, but you got to be in a certain position to at least go for it in fourth down. So we're moving the ball. I think it was mostly a physical issue of just we turned the ball over 7 times, 9 times including the fourth down turnovers. You just can't do that and win games. So I think there's a little bit of a mental side to it with the new staff and the new offense, but ultimately it just comes down to holding on to the ball.
Would you say too, for yourself, the production you had, is that kind of, I mean, obviously you can't take away the turnovers, we know that, but is that kind of where you feel like you want to be? Have you shown that, yeah, I got this under control and we're heading in the right direction, even though some people outside might be kind of panicking over the way the first week went?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, if we can take away the turnovers, it's a completely different game. I mean, I don't think that that game represents at all what we can do offensively. And ultimately some of the defense or some of the turnovers hurt our defense too, giving up 38 points. Well over half of that is on the offense, turning the ball over in our own territory, and just turn the ball over again, not having a punt and knocking them down to the 10 or whatever. I mean, that's a huge deal for our defense, especially. So, yeah, it just comes down to holding on to the ball.
Thanks, Ron.
Next question is from Chris Solari with the Detroit Free Press.
Good to see you, Rocky. Looking back at the last 2 years in your prep for this game, I mean, you've had experience in this game. How does it change as the starting quarterback, and what did you kind of pick up over those couple years, with watching Brian in the last 3 years, getting ready to be a starter, and how do you translate that to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, my prep will be a lot different this year, considering last year I played in the game as a personal protector for the punt team. But it's exciting to finally get out there as a starting quarterback for my position. So the prep will be different, from week to week. But like I talked about earlier, it's ultimately the same. You got to go out there, you got to rep your plays, you got to see the looks. So it's exciting to take some of the reps in practice now and really feel like I have comfortability in what I'm doing with the offense and how I'm seeing the defense.
When it comes to a rivalry game as a quarterback, how tough is it, or how important is it to maintain even keel this week?
Yeah, it's super important. I think that's something that I do really well. I try to stay even keel, make sure everybody in the huddle feels a neutral presence in there, and make sure that nobody's too high, nobody's too low. So it's really important in every game, and especially in a rivalry game when emotions are flying high, and just one dumb penalty or whatever turnover, somebody's not focused, can really change the game.
Next question is from Matt Wenzel with MLive.
Hey, Rocky, after Saturday's game, you talked about difference being, just your comfortability with the offense and, your growth and time in the program. How much did, you look at 18 when you guys played Michigan and there was, Brian was hurt and you guys are kind of moving around, but, taking every snap on Saturday and the staff showing the confidence in you, what does that do for you moving forward into a game like this?
Yeah, it does a lot, with staff to have confidence in myself. That gives me more confidence to go out there and play. So, taking every rep in practice is really important too, because you get to see the looks. When you don't take reps in practice and then you go out there in a game, you think you see it and you see it on film and you see it in practice when you're around the side, but actually going in there and seeing it from the perspective of the position you play is a lot different.
And with Michigan, I think they had a handful of sacks against Minnesota. I'm not sure how much you've looked at that tape already, but what did you see from them defensively? And obviously that being, what you guys are going to be facing on Saturday.
Yeah, they got a great defense, and they've had good defenses throughout the years, so that's nothing different. They got a really strong front seven. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson is a really good player, and we're gonna have to scheme around him, especially to make sure that we're protected in the pocket and we're moving the ball downfield. But we definitely understand the talent level of their defense, but I think we got some talented receivers and talented O-line, talented running backs, talented tight ends as well. So, we just got to go out there and execute our game plan. That's really what it comes down to.
Thanks, Rocky.
Next question is from Lindsey Huddleston.
Hi, Rocky. You somewhat touched on it earlier when you talked about the team as a whole preparing and going forward, but I'm just curious, is there a special burden you carry as a leader that's a little unique just because you are the leader of the team? And then if so, how do you manage that burden?
Yeah, I mean, as a leader of the team, there's always, I don't want to call it a burden, but a certain responsibility that you have to make sure that everybody knows how important this game is, and really how important every game is, but especially a rivalry game like this. We talked to Antoine and I talked to the freshmen yesterday about how important this rivalry is to us, to the state, to the program. This is going to be something that everybody's going to be talking about for the next 365 days or however long it is till we play next. So it's definitely a big deal for us to make sure that everybody understands that this is not just any other game. This is a big game for us. This is a big game for Coach Tuck. This is a big game for our program.
Great. Thank you.
Next question is from Audrey Dahlgren with WLNS.
Hi, Rocky.
Hi.
I'd like to play this game too right away. I usually have a couple of weeks, or this is the season that you're playing this game, and it's week 2, and you're already going up against Michigan and prepping for Michigan. What is that aspect of it? If you could add to it, just kind of moving right into a rivalry game just so quick into the year for your season.
Yes. You kind of cut out on me a little bit, but I think I got your question. It is a little weird playing them this early in the season. But, ultimately we've had, 28 days before the first practice and this practice. Obviously we got this week of practice. So we're not underprepared by any means. We've had plenty of practice. We've had plenty of film sessions. Everybody knows what to do. If you study your game plan, we've had plenty of preparation to to be prepared to go out and play this week's game. So it will be a little different to play them this early in the season, week 2, but it doesn't feel like week 2. The weather's changing. It's later in the year. This is prime football season. So we're more than prepared.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question is from Rico Cooney with Spartan Magazine.
Hey, good morning, Rocky. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Hey, there's always periods in a game where I guess you get things or you see things, and there's the one pass, like it was like a deep out to the sidelines, and you overthrew it, and you grasped your helmet with your hands. Talk about that moment and maybe realizing some things, I guess, about yourself and maybe things that you can do that maybe in the past you weren't so confident of, and other people may not have been confident that you could do those things too.
Yeah, I think the play you're talking about is just a go ball side pocket 9 route in cover 2, and from my perspective, I expect myself to be perfect on every play. I'm a perfectionist, and that's how you should carry yourself. You want to execute everything to the best of your abilities at all times. I know I can make that throw. It was a little high, and so I was frustrated with myself. But at the end of the day, play's over. 1 second, you move on to the next play, and that's all you can do about it. So it's really just about getting comfortable with yourself, and now I feel like I'm so much more comfortable in the pocket that I can make some of those throws. My accuracy has been so much better than I was 2 years ago. So like I talked about, it just comes down to expecting to be great, expecting to do everything correct, and then going out and doing it.
Thank you.
We have time for a couple more. We'll go to Jason Lewis with ABC 12 in Flint.
Hey, Rocky. Obviously, with a game of this magnitude to be played at the Big House, usually there's 110,000 people there. It's packed. It's loud. How weird is it going to be playing this game this year without the fans and without that atmosphere?
Yeah, it'll definitely be a little interesting. It was definitely interesting last week being at home with no fans. You're used to 75,000 Spartan fans screaming at you and cheering you on. So it'll be weird. I think it might be a little bit more normal this week just because we've had 1 week experience with no fans. But it still won't have the same energy that it usually has, and we look forward to going to the Big House and being with however many Wolverine fans and Spartan fans, and it just makes everything a lot more energized and enthusiastic. But it's still football. Football is football, whether there's people watching or people not. So it's going to be the same game. It's just going to come down to, can we stay focused and can we keep energy up?
One more question real quick. When you see that maize and blue, when you hear the name Michigan, what comes to mind? Does that give you that extra fuel into your fire?
Yeah, absolutely. It means more to us than other games, just because we're in state. It's for the pride of the state. It's for the pride of the university. Two great universities coming together and competing to see who's the best. So it's a great rivalry for the Big Ten. It's what makes the Big Ten one of the best conferences in the country, if not the best. So we love these rivalry games, and we definitely take advantage of them.
Thanks, Rocky.
Next question is from Jennifer Hammond with Fox 2 in Detroit.
Hey, I apologize, Rocky, if somebody already hit you with this question. I jumped on a little bit late. But kind of following up on your comments about the rivalry and the pride that's involved in this game, when you see that the Wolverines are a 24-point favorite, do you kind of take a little offense to that? Is that something that fuels you guys a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, 24 points seems to be a little bit of a stretch for me, but I don't even really look at that stuff, honestly. For us, it's all about, Coach Johnson harps on a lot, just process the play. So if we can take it one play at a time and we can execute each play the way that we're supposed to, we'll go out there and we'll have a productive day, and hopefully we'll win the game. So really, it doesn't really matter what the odds are. It matters, can we execute every play to the best of our abilities, and can we keep moving the ball forward?
Thank you.
I know there's a few more in the chat, but we got to get going because I have to get to Coach Tucker here. So, Rocky, I really appreciate your time, and we'll see you Saturday in Ann Arbor. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rock.
Thank you, Rock.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks to everybody for hanging on. I know a couple of people joined late, and I'll get those recording privileges, and we'll connect with Coach Tucker here shortly.
Hey Ben, is he going to be on Spartan Vision or his own? Just kind of so we're keeping an eye out. Do you know?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
So with the like, is he going to be on his own personal Zoom or is it going to be a Spartan Vision Zoom? So just looking. So when we look at the gallery view, who are we looking for? Are we looking for?
I got you. It should be on his. So
Okay.
Hi, Stony.
Thanks for your patience, everyone. Coach will be joining us here momentarily.
I think it's good afternoon. I was morning. We did 11 o'clock last week. I think it's afternoon. As you guys know, I've been looking forward to this call all week.
Well, thanks for joining us, Coach. We really appreciate it. Michigan State gets ready to take on Michigan this Saturday, October 31st in Ann Arbor at noon on Fox, and we're joined by head coach Mel Tucker. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Thanks for setting us up. Thank you guys again for getting on the call today. Once again, I'd like to really thank all of our medical personnel, our head trainer, Sally, and Dr. Kovan, and just everyone in our organization with the behavior modification and following the protocols. We were able to go out and compete and on a clean field and be safe. And so I just want to thank those guys again. Obviously, this game against school down the road is not just another game, and so it's really special to me. It's special to our players. It's very important to our coaches, to our former players, and to our fans, and to the people of the state of Michigan. And so it's a special game, and we treat it as such. We know that it's always a physical game. Probably be the most physical game, that one of the most physical games that we'll play this season. And so we've really got to focus on, being fundamentally sound, taking care of the football, and but first and foremost, we got to be physical on both sides of the ball on special teams, and so we're building the foundation. It's a process. There's some things that we've got to get right, and so we're looking to get those things right this week. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
We'll start with Justin Rose at WXYZ.
Good afternoon, Coach. Just wondering what your maybe earliest memories of this rivalry are, and as you traveled throughout your coaching career, if you kept an eye on this game from a distance, and just to know how good of a rivalry it is nationwide.
Yes, I remember, obviously, playing at Wisconsin, you're aware of the rivalries in the Big Ten, and always, Michigan State has been a huge one. And being here as a graduate assistant in 97 to 98, I was really able to, experience that firsthand and just feel the passion and the energy. There's not a day that goes by where you don't hear about this game from someone in one way, shape, or form. And so, it's certainly, not just a game, and that's what makes it, college football special, are these types of rivalries, and that's what makes it special to be here at State.
This question is from Rico Beer with 97.1 The Ticket.
Coach, coming off of the Rutgers loss, how do you get your team amped up and prepared for the intensity that's going to come in playing the University of Michigan?
Yes, that's a great question, because it's, one thing that's very important to be able to handle is, if in fact you do lose a game, how do you handle a loss? How do you what is your mental disposition, coming off of a game like that? And so, the process is, what, win or lose, it's a 24-hour rule, and then it's time to move on to the next game, because the most important game is the next game. And so we, obviously we, self-evaluation, and we watch the film. We see the things that need to be corrected, and put a plan in place to do that, and to make sure the players understand, where we fell short, and then how we can get better, and give them a path to success. But then also you want to look at the positives and things that you feel that you can build upon. And certainly we have some of those in the game. And then and after you make those evaluations about the previous game, then you quickly turn the page and focus, on the next game. And so, we've done that. We're well into our game plan for the school up the road, and so our focus is a laser focus on this game on Saturday.
Our next question is from Lindsay Huddleston.
Thank you. Hello, Mel. The elephant in the room. Hey, when you look at social media, at least when I look at social media, you see fans feeling let down. How do you deal with the negativity that comes from that, or that feeling that the quote unquote honeymoon may be over?
Yeah, well, that's to be expected. I believe this is my 24th year of coaching, and when you don't have success, I mean, there's disappointment. There's disappointment from the coaching staff. There's disappointment on the player side of it, and then the fans and everyone involved. And so, because the expectation is to have success and do that on a consistent basis. And so, we go to the truth, and understand, why were we not able to have the success on the field that we expected, and that's up to the standard. Why were we not able to play up to that standard? And the answer is obviously turnovers. We talked about the turnover margin being the number one determining factor in winning and losing in college and pro. If you turn the ball over 7 times, you just really don't really give yourself a chance to win. And then also, we had too many penalties, and 100 yards in penalties is worth about 7 points. And so, we didn't have 100 yards in penalties, but we gave up some points in terms of in the penalty category, and so you look at those things and you say these are the reasons why we weren't successful. Then you look to get them fixed, and then you move on. But I do feel the disappointment. But it's important for me as a head coach and as a leader to move on to the next game and turn the page. We'll learn from it. We've got a young football team that's bought in, that's eager, that's motivated and wants to do well. And we've done some good things, and this is a week to get some things cleaned up and improve. I believe that you typically make your most improvement from game 1 to game 2, and so that's really where our focus is. But I do feel the passion from the fans, and I greatly appreciate that caring and that want to is there, and no one is more disappointed than myself.
I understand. Thank you, Mel.
Yep, thank you.
Next question is from Matt Charbonneau with the Detroit News.
Mel, how you doing?
Doing good.
Obviously, running the ball is important in every game you play, but especially in this series, it has proven to be kind of the determining factor in winning these games. Considering how you guys ran the ball in that opener, how big of a concern is that right now? Where would you put a lot of the reason last week for not being able to run the ball effectively?
Well, first and foremost, I think I have to give Rutgers have to give them credit, for where credit is due. I mean, they played hard, up front. They did a really good job on some of their movements and things, and they gave great effort up front. And our guys fought. When I came out of the game, when I left the field, I felt like in the trenches, we weren't able to get the movement that we needed to get. When I watched the film, it was not as bad as I thought that it was, just coming out of the game. And so, we've got to run the ball better. We need to be able to run the ball on our terms, because having balance on offense and not being one-dimensional is critically important. And I believe that with a combination of improvement up front on some technique and fundamentals and some communication things, but also just hitting the hole with the velocity and the explosiveness that we need to. I believe that we can do a better job, running the football. There was some room there that we were not able to get to, but at times you could see when we were able to hit the hole with some velocity, and there were some creases there, and we were able to get some chunks. And so, we played multiple backs, and we're going to continue to do that. I thought, obviously, Jordan Simmons was someone who impressed me in the game. As a true freshman coming in, running hard and really taking advantage of some of the creases that our O-line created. So, certainly we've got a lot of work to do there.
Real quick follow-up on the offensive line. Are you guys operating 100%, or are there some guys out? I know you're not going to give me details, but is everyone available up there, or are you a little bit limited with guys right now?
The guys that are available are guys that we feel like can get the job done. And so, football is a game of, there's a game of injuries. We've got all around the country, college and pro. You see, you have COVID. Guys are in quarantine or in isolation, or you get guys that have injuries or whatever it may be. And I've never really been about, talking about who you don't have. It's really about who you do have. We've talked before about developing the entire roster and creating depth and being able to have guys ready to go in there and play, play winning football. And so, the guys that we have available to us are the guys that we're going to go to work with this week, and we're not going to make any excuse or explanations about personnel and who's available and who's not.
Thanks, Mel.
Next question is from Jason Lewis with ABC 12 in Flint.
Hey, Mel. I know you mentioned a little bit before about when you were a grad assistant. Obviously, that 98 year, you got the big win over Ohio State, but in those 2 years, you weren't able to beat Michigan. What do you remember from those times, and whether it's the atmosphere in the locker room coming off those losses or just the buildup during the week that you can maybe use going into the game this year?
Well, I do remember vividly, how we embraced that game. I've had some pretty good mentors that I work with that embrace rivalry games, and obviously, at that time, with Coach Saban, it made to be a special game. There was emphasis put on it, and I can remember the intensity going into that game and the preparation. It's when you have these rivalry games, it's just different. There's no way around it. And the places that I've been and I've been very fortunate as a player, very fortunate as a coach to be a part of these rivalry games, whether it's Auburn, Alabama, or Georgia, Florida, Ohio State, Michigan State, Chicago, Green Bay, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and all of those rivalry games, we've embraced those games, and really and treated them special. And there's no difference. There's no difference here and now. We know this is not just a game, but obviously from a process standpoint, we have to focus on the day-to-day preparation and the things that you do to put yourself in a position to perform well and have success in the game. And so we cannot just be focused on the destination. We've got to embrace also the journey along the way to get us to that point. And so that's where our focus is today.
Thanks, Mel.
You got it.
Next question is from Rico Cooney with Spartan Magazine.
Good afternoon, Coach.
Good afternoon.
You obviously had some difficulties with pass pro on some situations, and I was just wondering, going forward, is it a question of those backs have to get it down, or maybe you tinkering things and maybe adding a fullback in the sets or adding an extra tight end out on the edge?
Yeah, that's a great question, because in our philosophy, first we want to be able to run the ball on our terms, and secondly, we need to be able to protect the quarterback. That's very important, and give him a clean pocket so he can deliver the ball accurately. And we have some guys that were open, and we weren't able to get the ball to them at times because of that. But we're really going to be focused on communication today and the rest of this week, making sure that we're making the proper calls up front, and that our line is coordinated with our tight ends and our backs, to make sure that we can pick up the pressures that we're going to get, and keep our quarterback upright and give him a clean pocket. And football is the ultimate team sport, and the key to it is to get all 11 guys on the same page on a consistent basis, and but when you're not on the same page, you know, sometimes, you know, oftentimes you're not going to have success, and it can, and you know, it's hard sometimes to pinpoint, you know, from afar exactly where the breakdown was, and oftentimes, you know, it's you know, it's just more than one guy, and so we've just got to get guys on the same page, and we're working really hard to do that. Communication is going to be a huge emphasis for us today on both sides of the ball, because, you know, if we're on the same page, in our execution, as we've seen, you know, we do have the ability to make some plays.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next question is from Stephen Brooks with 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Mel. When you look at through the factors of coming off of a loss, of playing the biggest rival, and also playing them this early in the season, what sort of energy or vibe do you want to create in practice to make this week a little different than maybe anything of the past month when you talk about embracing it? And again, looking at those factors, just in practice, what will you sort of see or know that this will be different, or will you try to create to make things a little different this week?
Yeah, we're doing some things in house here to emphasize, you know, what this game means.